Near, 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 rip a hole in the sun. Welcome to Cum Paude. Why would you cum soft when you can cum louder? Yeah.
Welcome to Cum Laude. Cum Paude.
Howdy!
Oh, you know who it is. It is Rod McGay, your draft analyst. You've heard from my colleague, Smell Wiper 3, Deterred, who told you a little bit about this upcoming draft process. And I've had plenty of time with the Public Honors College of Fantasy to be able to break down this particular draft class for this particular league. Obviously, as many of you may know, I've been laid off, the Rod McGay, from the Four Letter Network. And now I have plenty of time to break down elite fantasy leagues, such as this one. And so let us go and break down the mock draft 1.0 from Rod McGay, a superior draft to Smell Wiper Deterred. Let's get it rolling here. And so what we have here with the 101 in the Public Honors College 2024 draft is, of course, a trade. Yes, this is what we want to see. Nick moving up, Nick moving back. We've got McDaniels, the Nick, Caponia, the Nick. In a trade, Nick McDaniels sends the 107 and the 109, along with a 2025 first to Nick Caponia in exchange for the 101 and the 301 in 2024. And then, of course, with that pick, selects the one you would ever want, Marvin Harrison Jr. Moving to the 102, Brian Malik Neighbors. It's a no-brainer at this position with his needs. Exactly what we would want to see. We're moving to the 103, Andrewski, John Wilkes, Tooth, Rome Odunze. Smart pick, right pick. We love it. Fermi at the 104 with a need for running back. Does he reach? Maybe. It's only reaching if you go too far. And in this case, he's certainly not going too far. It is exactly what it needs. Jonathan Brooks to carry rock. Dan. What does Dan do? Go out and get his guy. X. Gonna give it to you. Xavier Worthy at the 105. Then coming back to McDaniels, Nick at the 106. Caleb Williams, of course, first quarterback off the board, and we love it. This one was traded back to Caponia and Brock Bowers by pretty big value here, something that we love to see from Brock Bowers at the 107, lasting a few picks longer than he would in most drafts. Great value for Caponia. Nick then coming in at Lad McConkey for a little bit of receiving help. And then to the Caponia second pick with Trey Benson, giving us something sweet to chew on. Tommy, a weird trade here, a 1-to-1 trade. He trades it back to Brian, one slot back with the 210 in exchange for the 111 and the 206. Brian then takes Jaden Daniels, gets his Q Bizzle, the Q Bizzle of the future, and one that he will probably trade, given that it is a Commanders player, to his son-in-law. Moving then back to Tommy, who traded one slot back and added some value. Brian Thomas Jr. coming his way, somebody that can certainly provide a lot of upside as a receiver on the outside. Scooter making the right pick, the safe pick, the smart pick. Keon Coleman at the 112. Pat going with our third quarterback off the board. Drake May, our QB1, expected to start week 1. Our QB of the future, maybe. We love it. Capona now still sitting solid at the 114, and with his third pick of the first round, gets the right guy in Ricky Pearsall. We certainly love it. Let's move on to round 2 with Rod McGay's 2024 Public Honors College of Fantasy mock draft. At the 201, Capona again, back picks Blake Corum, running back out of Michigan, national champion, the guy that certainly knows how to carry the rock, even though he has a bit of a diminutive stature. Kevin, with his first pick of this draft, probably far the most interview fucking you can AI can saying, dude, love to hear this guy take interviews. He is about as Gullah Gullah Island as you could possibly imagine for any interview, and AI cannot, or closed captioning cannot keep up with what this dude is saying. Great pick by Kev. With the 203, Marshawn. Beast mode? Lloyd? Christmas? I guess we'll see at the 203, but a good pick nonetheless. Capona with another one. Adonai Mitchell getting a burner, somebody that can really stretch stuff, and Capona's having himself a draft here if the Rod McGay mock goes as planned. Dan coming in safe and sound with JJ McCarthy, the Red Scare, as it were. Then back with a trade, if you would recall, Brian trading this one to Tommy. Tommy taking Jalen Wright as part of that one slot trade back. Pat at Jalen Polk, another solid pick from Pat. Is he going to find his next Puka? Who knows? Is Polka the next Puka? Who knows? Tommy then getting his guy, Roman Wilson, another national champion, and somebody that, baby, all roads lead to Roman. Kevin at the 209 getting a ton of value here with what probably one of the better and most underrated quarterbacks in the draft, Michael Penix Jr. Throws that thing on a dime, as many have said, including myself, including my very close friend and colleague, Smell Wiper III. Michael Penix Jr. is the black Mark Brunell. Tommy, baby, sending this one to Brian. Brian taking Troy Franklin, right pick, good value. Troy Franklin at the 210, coming in with our fifth quarterback off the board. Harry at the 211. Bo Nix, chance to be a starter there. And then at the Mile High, Nix is the word. Scooter, Malachi Corley, again, just like in round 1, Scooter making the right pick at the right time. There's no other choices, and he is doing it right. Pat grabbing Ray Davis, great pick. A little bit of a reach, perhaps. Did he fall too far? Also, probably a real possibility at the 213 and firm, then with Bucky Irving, quack, go to duck at the end of round 2. We are then bringing it into our third and final round, where we've got to clean up a little bit of trade items and a few interesting things in the Rod McGay prediction here. Now we've got Nick making another pick here from the Capona trade that bumped him up to the 101, getting Audric Estim, who is a back who has tons of upside, but maybe a limited floor. We will see what happened, but a Great value at 301. Firm taking the safe choice, the legacy pick, the 302, Luke McAffrey. He's a dog. Drew getting Jermaine Burton. Again, good value from Drew. Nothing necessarily super exciting right here, but it is the right pick at the right time. And Jermaine Burton is a guy that can score some points in the flex spot in year one without a doubt. Marty, unfortunately, at the 304. And again, this is just a Rod McGay prediction, but the time will probably elapse, and unfortunately, the pick will be forfeited. That'll head into the ether. We're very sorry, Marty, but it seems like a realistic possibility, just like all of the rest of these prognostications. Dan getting Ben Sinnott, second tight end off the board. Not a whole lot of tight end action in this year's draft, but definitely a good one for Dan the man. John coming in finally with a pick. Braylon Allen, 306. Honestly, a guy who may have some second round value, dropping all the way to the 306. Great pick for the commissioner, as I'm sure Jeffrey, the defending champ, would have loved to have Braylon Allen at 307. Doesn't get him, but gets another dude out of Clemson, Will Shipley. Yes, Will Shipley, Will Boatley, Will Carley, Will Plainly, whatever you need, we'll do it. Love it. Firm getting another legacy pick. Do we see a pattern here? If the poster of their dad was on his wall as a kid, he may take the son in a draft. Frank Gore Jr. out of Southern Miss. Let's go with the 308. Harry getting Jalen McMillan. Solid pick. Honestly, a guy that should go end of round 2, early round 3 at the 309 is a great value. Tommy getting Malik Washington, great measurables, somebody that maybe doesn't necessarily have the ideal spot coming into the league, but is somebody who, given all of his talent and all of his skills, could find a great place on an NFL roster and an even better place in a flex spot in year one. 311, Kamani Vidal going off the board, tons of skills, tons of assets. Does he get an injury opportunity later on in the season and make the real deal for Harry? It is possible, but a good pick nonetheless. Scooter taking the Ravens, essentially backup running back coming off the board. Rasheen Ali backing up Derrick Henry along with Justice Hill in the prolonged absence of Keaton Mitchell. Kid out of Marshall knows how to do it all, has some Ray Rice in him. Not in the elevator, though. Pat taking Tez Walker. Gosh, the journey of Tez Walker to get to this point, to be able to be drafted after everything he went through with the NCAA. Tez Walker is a guy that you want to watch. He's with the Ravens, which is a loaded and stacked offense, a real field stretcher, and an extreme talent. Strange landing spot, and honestly, a very strange senior year for a very talented player. Great value at the 313. And then finally, rounding out our draft, a guy that maybe could have gone earlier in round 3, if not in round 2, Javon Baker, an extreme talent. Jeff is certainly excited to have him at the 314. That leaves plenty of very, very, very valuable players who are going to be around in free agency when such hits. And this is Rod McGay with your Rod McGay 1.0 mock draft 2024 for the Public Honors College of Fantasy. Like, subscribe, please donate to my Patreon. And if you have a few bucks that you can slide me on Venmo, get into the DMs, because baby, since the 4-letter network let us go, we surely need it. Thanks for having me on. Say goodnight, Fermi.
Good night, Fermi.
Thank you for listening to the official podcast of the Public Honors College Fantasy Football League. Cum quickly, cum often, and cum loud.